everyone, Lewis Russell from Creative View, and we're talking about fear today. And fear shows up for us in so many ways. And fear has its place. Fear is what stops us from walking in front of a speeding car or taking food away from a hungry lion, not a good idea, or other things that will get us killed or maimed. But fear in everyday life is often misplaced. We fear the unknown, we fear things that we haven't done before or that seem like hard or scary, right? Just because it's something we don't know. And there's a lot of emotional triggers that are also combined with that, like not feeling good enough or that you deserve something. But when we start to break down fear, we can start to move past it. So what are some ways that fear shows up in our lives? Striving for perfection. We all know, as someone who has been a perfectionist most of their life, really have gotten over it more recently, but most of my life I strove for perfection. And when you're afraid of criticism and rejection, you strive to become perfect. Or maybe you settle for less than your dreams, right? Because when you're afraid to take risks and you settle for what's in front of you instead of what you really want, because you're afraid to ask for more. You're afraid to take the risks to get it. Resistance. Resistance shows up in many different ways, and the resistance to things can show up in things like procrastination. You put off doing things because it scares you or seems too hard. Or busyness. You see this in everyday life now. We're so busy, but are we? Like if you actually sit down and take a look at the time you spend doing other things, are we truly busy? Or is it a resistance to what scares us, right? So lack of time goes with the busyness. We often fill our days with things that keep us busy. So we may truly be busy, but how important are those busy things? When we really look at it, what do we have time for? We usually have time for the things that we love to do, right? And so things that scare us, we don't love to do those, so we're too busy for that. You may numb yourself with food and alcohol or technology. Social media is a huge problem right now, right? Because we fill our space with it. We fill our time with it. And it's a numbing, like TV, like it's equivalent to drinking. You're not present when you numb yourself that way, whether it be technology or food or alcohol or something else. So fear causes inner pains, and we often turn to that self-medicating when we're afraid. So emergencies, often when we're afraid, emergencies will pop up that need our attention. And you can say, yeah, but emergencies happen, and they do, right? But why do they happen? And why do they happen right now? So looking at emergencies, this is a really good sort of way to delve into, okay, if your child, fell off their bike and needs stitches, that's a true emergency, right? But when your friend calls and has a crisis because, they're mad at their boyfriend today and tomorrow they won't be, is that a true emergency that now takes up, 24 hours of your time, and then they forgive their boyfriend and you're kind of left with all the bad things you said about them? But emergencies of any kind, things that take your attention right now. And emergencies can be something at work. Emergencies can be, having to run your lunch to your kid at school because they forgot it. Emergencies show up in all different ways, but emergencies often are a resistance. Illness. This seems to be my go-to with resistance and fear. And I don't usually recognize it until later. Although I'm getting a little better, I start to look at it sort of in the middle of not feeling well. And illness is a dis-ease in your body, right? So things you're not dealing with. And stress can also cause illnesses, and fear is very stressful. So they kind of combine, and you may make yourself sick. And it could be that, the stress of being afraid makes you sick, or you could create symptoms in your body just as a way to resist doing what you're afraid of. You struggle to make decisions. So you're afraid of making the wrong one, so you don't make any, right? And that's a classic way that fear shows up for us. You have a need to control things. If you control everything, micromanage everything, you feel more like you can manage. You often feel that the world is out to get you, so you need to control it. So these are some of the signs of fear. So what can we do about it? What can we do to change that? So looking at where fear may be in control of us, becoming aware of your actions, become aware, it gives us a chance to start looking at things. So becoming aware of our fear responses. So like me, I often get sick. So looking at that, so when I do get sick, it's like, okay, what is this truly? So how do you act when you're afraid? What are your responses? And what's one small thing that you can do to change that reaction? So ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? Often when we stop and really look at our fear and dissect it, the worst thing is not that bad. It's like when you want to meet someone and you're like, don't want to go over there. And it's like, what is the worst thing that could happen? They could say, go away, or they could say, yeah, let's connect, right? So it's easier said than done, of course, but the more we sort of put ourselves out there and try things, the more likely we are to be okay with it. But when we start to reflect on what is the worst thing that could happen, chances are it's not that bad. So you can journal through your fears. So writing for me is so important. I write about everything. I write books, I do my journaling, I do my morning pages. I have so many different writing exercises that I do because it's so important to me. And journaling or writing is a really great way to work through those different fears. Once you address them, once you realize what they are. So that's really the first step. Meditation. So you can sit quietly and reflect on your fear and how you can change it, or just calm yourself with a simple meditation. Just some deep breathing or a guided meditation, just something that just sort of gets you out of that thought pattern right now. Question your beliefs about things. So every time you have a fearful thought, question it. And when you question your thoughts and beliefs, you start to create distance from it. And when you create distance, it becomes not so scary. Find your soul people, those people that you don't have to bend and change for, people who accept you for who you are, because together things are less scary, right? So when you have people in your life that are similar to you and have the same beliefs as you, as long as you're not all sitting there afraid of everything together, that's a whole other story. But find people who maybe push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but accept you for who you are. Trust that the universe has your back. This is so important because our beliefs become our reality. So if we believe that we have a reason for fear, we do. If we believe there's nothing to be afraid of, there isn't, right? So trust the universe, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, to help you and make everything okay, right? And really watch your thoughts. Watch your thoughts and how they affect your everyday life, okay? So those are my thoughts about fear. And I just wanted to share them with you because I think it's really important that we start to look at what we're afraid of and so that we can make changes. So have an amazingly creative day, and I will see you again soon. Thank you.